Okay, this is a 2011 B AP Macro FRQ. We're just working on long run stuff, so we're going to skip the things about the Phillips curve and loanable funds market. But it's telling us that Meekland is in long run equilibrium with a balanced government budget. Now, using correctly labeled graph of aggregate supply and aggregate demand show each of the following. Long run aggregate supply output labeled as YE and the price level labeled as PE. Okay, so start with our long run aggregate supply labeled as, what do they tell us? I can't remember. We'll put it as price level and real GDP. Oh yeah, YE is what they wanted. So then we'll have short run aggregate supply and aggregate demand, and where all three of those cross, they wanted us to label those as PLE. So price level equilibrium, full employment equilibrium, that's why these labels are a little bit different. That's what they wanted, so just make sure we do that. And here we go. Now we have this. Remember, you're going to get points just for labeling and drawing it correctly. So now that we're taking care of that, and that, okay? YE and PLE, just make sure you label those correctly or you won't get it correct. Alright, so assume consumer confidence falls. So consumer confidence, I'm going to think to myself, alright, that is the C in Sig X. So that C in Sig X, consumer confidence falls. So I know that consumer confidence or consumption is going to decrease. And of course, what that tells me is that Sig X goes down, GDP or aggregate demand is going to go down. Showing your graph in part A, the short run impact of the change in consumer confidence, and label a new equilibrium price level and output Y1 and PL1. So I know aggregate demand is going to shift to the left. And I'm going to show my arrow for that change. And they want that labeled as PL1 and Y1. So I'm showing price level drop, aggregate demand shift to the left, and our full employment output is no longer at full run or potential GDP. It shows that we are now entered into a recession. So label this as 1A, then I, and II, captain. So then we did B. Okay, those are all graphs. So now I'm going to move down to D because I said not to worry about C. So on D, what's going to happen? The question says, if the government and the central bank do not pursue any discretionary policy change. This word right here is important because it means choice. Like viewer discretion is advised, like at your choice. So they do not pursue any discretionary policy. Government, that'd be fiscal policy, and the central bank, that'd be monetary policy. So they do not pursue any policy change. How does the fall in consumer confidence affect government transfer payments in Meekland? Explain. Okay, so you got to remember what government transfer payments are, and what those are automatic stabilizers. So government transfer payments will go up. Because the fall in confidence leads to aggregate demand decreasing. Okay, when aggregate demand decreases, that means GDP is decreasing, right? So if that happens, if GDP decreases and shifts to the left, we are below full employment equilibrium. So GDP goes down, that equals the unemployment rate going up. And when people are unemployed, one of their choices in an economy that has automatic stabilizers or transfer payments means that they're going to seek unemployment benefits. So transfer payments will increase during a recession. Alright, So that's our part B. I was a little bit sloppy on how I wrote it, but if you need a student response, I've attached those to Google Classroom. Those look like this. Okay, you can run that off, okay, or open it up to check it further. Alright, and F says, in the absence of any changes in fiscal and monetary policies, absence of changes in policies. That means, once again, we are in classical. So in classical, in the long run and short run aggregate supply curve shift to the left, right, or remain unchanged as a result in the fall consumer confidence, and explain. So what we didn't do is end up shifting our graph and adjusting to the long run. But we can do that here in a second. Let me zoom out of here. My daughter's home with me, so she's listening to Pinkalicious, if you hear that, or watching it. Alright. So short run aggregate supply will actually end up shifting to the right. Okay? So short run aggregate supply is going to end up increasing because in a recession, when we have unemployment, wages will fall. The reason behind that is if you're unemployed and you need a job and you want $10 an hour and all that's out there is $8 an hour, guess what? You're going to go grab you a job for $8 an hour. So the confidence made our aggregate demand shift to the left. Now that nothing is happening, we're going to need a response from the economy. It's going to have to work. So what's going to happen is when wages fall, remember we have pig. We have pig equals short run aggregate supply. So this is an input cost. Wages are an input cost. And as input costs decrease, then our supply would go up. Now I'm not saying the equal sign as in this is a mathematical thing. I'm saying short run supply is going to increase because wages end up, or input costs go down. Okay, so we can make more supply. What that would end up looking like would be short run aggregate supply shifts to the right. We return to full run equilibrium. If they'd ask you to draw this, it'd probably be PL2, something like that. So remember, in the long run, we are going to try to get back to full employment equilibrium somehow. This is a classical explanation of that. So to get all the points you would need for F, you would say supply would increase because in a recession, that's what I wrote unemployment. If unemployment is up, wages will fall. Alright, so that's 2011B. Hope that helps.